Good morning. It is what time? 6:41 a.m. on Monday, January 25th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So, Rocket wanted to wake up and go outside again this morning at about 4, which is kind of almost the perfect time in the sense that, well, the perfect time in a way that interferes with the most of my sleep, because it's enough that by the time I'm able to get back to sleep, I don't have enough sleep time left before I have to get up in order to actually make the use of it. Ugh, he's fine. I'm just grumpy because I didn't get as much sleep as I wanted. It's okay though. It's been very cold here lately. Not as cold as it can get or has been other places, but cold, like 18 Fahrenheit. I mean that's cold. It's cold outside. I've obviously dealt with colder, but that's enough that you really have to, like, anytime you're going outside, you kind of have to like pay attention. Like, even if you're only going out for a few minutes, you sort of say, well, okay, probably want to wear my heavy coat, get a hat, have some gloves with me. It's I guess, I don't know. It's cold, okay? I'm not going to make excuses for saying that it's cold. People know that. I'm sure there's going to be some tough people out there who say, 18, I'd go out in shorts and a t-shirt at 18, and I'm like, okay, good for you. It's cold though. I don't know. Gosh, yeah, I'm feeling a little punch drunk right now. I have to make sure to be at work on time this morning because my workplace is implementing a new policy where we're going to need to get those of us who need to go in and be on site instead of working from home need to be tested, COVID tested once weekly. You know, if you're going to be on site, you have to have been tested within the last 7 days. Is the policy. And so I have an appointment to get an on-site test today, this morning, and so that's just one of those things where, like, gosh, it's a precaution that's probably good, but does feel a little bit like, oh man, it's just like I have to stay on top of another another thing now. Although, like, obviously I'm not expecting to get COVID. I don't think I have had it. If I did, it came and went without me being aware of it, which probably does happen sometimes, but there's only so much you can do if we didn't ever actually develop symptoms of anything. But I mean, we'll see. But the weird thing about it, like, other than just like, oh gosh, well, that's another thing I have to keep track of, is when I've had my last test. But I found that my reaction, like, I've been concerned throughout this whole thing that, like, I don't want to get COVID. If I can ride this thing out until I can get vaccinated and just not get it at all, that's absolutely the best outcome. But weirdly, the idea of having to get a weekly test introduced an element of anxiety into my non-rational brain of, like, oh, but what if I get it? That'll be inconvenient for work purposes, which is not a good, like, reasonable fear. Like if I get it, then sure. Like, I mean, that's inconvenient. Not to mention, scary because it's an illness that's killed lots of people. But I like it. I think what that does is it harkens back to that instinct that some people have of saying, well, I don't want to go to the doctor because what if it's bad news? And people will say, well, okay, but if it's going to be bad news, it's bad whether you know it or not. And so if you know it, you might be able to do something about it. On the other hand, that does make me think about this movie, The Farewell, that I talked about a little while ago, where, I think sometimes there can be something to not like not dwelling on something. I don't know. That's not a good example in this case because knowing if you have COVID or not is important because you don't want to get other people sick. Like, see, that's actually one of the fears that I have as far as like, well, what if you had it but you were just asymptomatic? It doesn't mean that you didn't maybe give it to someone else anyway. Like maybe you didn't even know you had it, but someone in your circle gets sick and it's actually because of you and you didn't even know. Like that's why people should wear masks and be careful even if you don't feel sick. Anyway, yeah. So I've got to finish getting ready for work. Gotta get some caffeine in my system, wake myself up, and I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.